Welcome to Around the Shop with 360 Woodworking. Your hosts are Chuck Bender and Glen Huey. Each Saturday, tune in for the best in woodworking tips, techniques, and general shop fun. Now, here's the 360 guys, Chuck and Glen.
All right, so before we get started, we're going to take a question from one of our readers, and the question came in from Wade, who is a member of 360 Woodworking. Thanks, Wade. We appreciate it. As a result of that, because Wade's question's being read aloud on their show, we are sending Wade one of our 360 Woodworking coffee mugs.
And everything tastes better in a 360 Woodworking mug.
For sure. Well, at least what I'm drinking does, I can tell you that. Anyway, so Wade's question went back to the episode that we did on backboards, and he wanted to know about the nails. We briefly mentioned them. We kind of walked through them. We didn't really spell it out.
We showed them, but we didn't specifically say where we got them or what size we used and all that stuff.
Right. So I can tell you where I'm at with that is I buy nails from Horton Brass, who buy them from Tremont, and Tremont's probably the maker of almost everything that happens.
Yeah, short of a handful of small blacksmiths out there pounding them out. Yeah, I would think that they make about 99% of the nails in this country.
So. Well, the nail that I use is called a shingle nail or a clout nail.
Right.
It's 1.5 inches in length. And again, this kind of keys into most of my backboards are 5/8, so the 1.5's getting me in there and getting me a bite. And I use them because there is a head on them. And of course, I use some fine finish nails on other places, but for backboards, it's generally that nail.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'm using, if I'm not using real period 18th century nails, which I do, I'd say 75% of the time.
Yeah.
I'm using rosehead nails from Tremont, or I'm getting them from somebody like Michael Coldren, who is in Northeast Maryland, and that's the town Northeast, not just a direction. So Mike Coldren's in Northeast, and he buys them from another blacksmith that actually buys Tremonts and then reheats them, pounds them out a little bit longer, reshapes the heads to make them look like they're 18th century nails.
Kidding.
Yeah, they're really cool, but
go on. So what do you pay for? First of all, what do you pay and where do you buy? True antique rosehead nails.
Well, you know the guy, Tim Coldren, is the guy I buy them from mostly, and his company is Monroe Coldren and Son, and they're in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Easy to look up. And the last time I bought some from Tim, probably 1.5 inch long, buck and a half a nail, something like that.
Yeah.
Not cheap, but
no. But in the scheme of things, on an average size chest, you're using 10, 12 nails.
Right.
So you're putting a whole whopping $12 to $15 into that.
Right.
It's well worth it if you got access to find them.
If you're spending the best money you have on the materials and the hardware, and you've invested all that time. Yeah. Even if you spent $20 on nails for this thing, in the end, it's not all that much.
No, I totally agree.
It has a totally different look.
Yeah, it does. I know it does, but it's still one of those things that it's to have access.
Right. And I can't even remember what I would buy the repro ones for. It's probably around the same as a period nail. It's just they're a whole lot more uniform.
You're talking about the repos that you're buying that have been blackened and stretched.
Yeah, they've been reworked.
Right. I got you.
And they're probably around the same price, buck and a half, something like that.
Compare that to a pound of those nails coming from Horton. Or from wherever,
Tremont or whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're. So, I don't even know.
Probably close to 100, maybe 80 to 100 nails in a pound, and that pound's $6-8, something like that. So yeah, it's a
tremendous difference in price. It's also a tremendous difference in functionality.
Yeah, and if somebody's looking for that true antique look, that's what they got. So,
right. Okay. So the other thing that Wade wanted to know.
Oh yeah.
Is how do you put your nails in? And the answer is pretty simple.
Yeah, sure it is. Ready? With a hammer. Yeah, but we can't really take that because Wade included that in his message, so we have to give that to him. So how do you?
Well, we got to give him that and a coffee mug.
Yeah, we're giving everything away today. Come on down, we're crazy.
Come on down, we're crazy.
Okay, so the question then, or how we put them in. I drill.
He wants to know, do you drill a pilot hole?
Yeah, no, and I do. I drill a pilot hole because the cloud or shingle nail that I'm using has got it's thin one way, a little wider the other way.
Right.
And the idea that we are, because our backboards for the most part are running side to side, we're nailing in right at the end grain. And if you don't put a pilot hole, you're going to split the board. And I drive
particularly if you put the wedge
yeah, you put the
across
wedge
the grain.
Way.
Well, I mean, even when you're using a period nail, you know, they do taper, and they tend to taper a little bit more one direction than another.
Right.
So if you're using a period nail, you want to look at it and make sure that you're not doing the same thing and putting the wide wedge across the grain, because it'll... Now, the great thing that those Tremont nails have going for them is they have a nice blunt end.
Yes.
Which sort of rips through the fibers rather than just splits them. Some of the period nails come down to a really sharp point. Yeah. And you start to drive that, and it just acts like a splitting wedge for firewood.
And that's one of the big differences between period nails and the wire nails that we use today, is that whole point area on it.
Right.
So definitely does. And as far as drilling those out, I don't fool around trying to match my size of my hole exactly. I actually grab a tapered bit that I use for a countersink and use it to drill the holes.
And sometimes I'll drill a pilot hole, and most of the time I don't, though. Because,
and you're okay with it splitting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using poplar for the backboards, and as long as you're in the heartwood, you tend not to split as much as you do in that hard white sapwood. So I really look, again, if I'm going for the 20-inch boards, they're bigger, older trees, so there's a lot of heart in there.
Again with the 20-inch wide boards. All right. So anyway,
isn't that what you would use?
Thanks, Wade. We appreciate the question. And as a reminder to the rest of you out there, send us a question. If we read it on the air and discuss it, then we'll send you a coffee mug too. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic, which is case interiors. All right. So for me, this is fun because I don't put a lot of time in, but here's the reason I brought this up. I have a friend that's a major antique collector, and he bought a flat top highboy that descended from the John Adams family. It included, when in the drawers, a lock of hair from John Adams, Abigail Adams, and Dolly Madison.
Are you buying or selling? That's my only question.
Well, you know,
this was years ago.
Oh yeah, you're going back probably 20, almost 20 years ago or more.
Right.
But he paid good money for it. So he calls us and he says, I've got this chest, and would you guys like to see it? Well, would you guys like to see it? You know, we don't live on the East Coast, so we don't get to see really good furniture. So yeah, man, are you kidding? He lived 50 miles from us. 2 seconds later, we're knocking on his door. Hey, let us in, let us in. You know, so we got in there as fast as we could. It probably, I think it was like 8:30 at night, and it's just like, yeah, right away, boom, we're in the car on our way. And we pull the drawers out and set the drawers down, and I stick my head on the inside of this upper section. We got a floodlight that's in there, and I'm looking in that, and it's like, are you serious? And I keep looking, and finally I pull my head out, and I look at my dad, and I said, if we built furniture like that today, people would run us out of the business. And it's like, there's no way. So, you know, I spend way more time than that on the inside. It looks decent, but I know that when you look at old stuff, it doesn't look that way. So what do you do on your insides?
Well, I actually spend a fair amount of time on my interiors, but I try and make it look like that Adam's highboy that you didn't like so much.
So the more we go through these, the more I understand why you had customers a lot longer than I did.
Yeah, no, I actually go over... Before I assemble a case or do anything like that, I'll go over it with a scrub plane, or if it's really gnarly stuff, I'll go over it with a cabinet scraper. I don't care so much about tear out. I'm just trying to get rid of any machine marks and leave behind a surface that really mimics what you saw on that early highboy.
Yeah, I was amazed when I seen it, and I thought, and I honestly can say that in the 20 years that I've built furniture for customers, I don't think I had a customer that would have accepted that. They would have been like, yeah, okay, so take it apart, sand the inside, clean it up for me, and we'll be good. So again, it's a different kind of customer you work with. So what I do on the inside, my panels all come off of the sander as they come out, and I do my layout work. I cut all my joinery. I do all the rest of that. But before I put that case together, before I glue it up, I'll go in with a sander and I'll clean up all the lines, clean up all the smudge marks and crap like that.
Do you stain and finish your interiors still?
Well, that's a whole nother topic, and yeah, I do, but to a point. And the The reason I do is I spray my dye on.
Right.
And if you spray the dye on and put it on the way I do, which means I flood the surface, and that's a whole topic for us to talk about, then you get runs and drips and stuff on the inside. And instead of fighting it, I go ahead and stain the entire inside. And then when I spray my first coat of finish on, the sealer coat, whether it's shellac or whatever, I do that on the inside too. And at that point, I'm done.
Nice.
So I'm really doing it just because I'm running into so many problems.
Right. And again, I'm not doing any of that stuff because I've left it fairly, by comparison, fairly rough inside. Even drawer runners and things like that. If you look at some of the really early pieces, yeah, I mean, I've seen stuff that's, was tapered where they just cleaned the bark off the edge of something and it was tapered down, and they slammed this thing in there, stuck some kind of a crude mortise and tenon on the front and a little notch in the back, and I've seen just about everything you can possibly imagine in those things. And you're right, they didn't spend a ton of time. When I do drawer runners, I scrub plane the faces, and then I'll run with a hand plane just about an 1/8 inch chamfer down the edges that are exposed, so that if somebody's reaching inside the cabinet, they don't necessarily catch anything sharp. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not worried so much about tear out. I'm going solely for the functionality. Can I get the drawers to go in and out? Everything has to run smooth. Other than that, I really don't care what it looks like inside.
I think it's amazing because you go onto websites and take a look at antique pieces, and there's one that stands out, and I don't know where it is or where I seen it, but it was a secretary that from the front, it was like, man, what a dream. And then they showed the back view when they had the backboards off, and it's like, you couldn't found place to put a block that was 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. There were glue blocks up and down this thing, and it's just like unbelievable.
Yep. So they just tried to get the stuff in there and make it work. Even backboards, as I said in that episode a few episodes ago when we talked about it, I scrub plane my backboards inside and out and leave those scrub plane marks.
So you chamfer off your drawer dividers,
the drawer runners and stuff. Yep. Even the guides.
Yeah. Nice.
Sometimes the back of the blades. Yep.
Very
but
nice.
That's about it. That's as much refinement as I'll give the interior of the cabinet.
Well, that's still, I mean, I know I'm doing a little bit more, but it still feels like, if you look at it from the inside, and if you're not coming from a antique perspective, wow, some of the people just would shake their heads and walk away. So I find it interesting.
I have very few people that actually pulled anything out of a cabinet to look inside to see how polished off it was inside.
Now, I actually remember one of the very early pieces that I've sold. The lady actually came to my house. My shop was in my garage at the time, and she came to my house, and the first thing she did was pull out 2 drawers, and she looked in, and she brought a customer. I think she was a designer, if I remember correctly. She brought a customer with her, and she said, see, that's what I'm talking about. You see the runners go all the way to the back, and then there's a back slat that goes across there as well, because I had made full drawer frames and put into this.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, I learned quick that that's not profitable. So she was happy. She bought the piece, and I delivered it, which was what I was in business to do.
Right.
So in summing up, case interiors, antique pieces look kind of junky compared to what we think of today. But if
Did you just call my stuff junky on the inside?
I said the antique pieces were junky, dude. Come on.
Yeah, but I try and make them look like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the big difference in what we do is I clean mine up more than you do. You're looking for that antique look. I'm looking for more of a contemporary view, which to each his own. Take what they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then from there, it's cleaning up the marks, cleaning up stuff for me. You let them go, and I don't know. I don't have anything else. You got anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's about it. We'll see you next week.
Join the 360 guys next week and every Saturday for more woodworking talk from around the shop.